We'll start by walking out into a tall plank, making sure that you're pushing that floor away and your front body is nice and short. Just kind of rocking back and forth for the wrists and the toes. And then opening up to the ceiling with one arm, actively pushing the floor away with the other, bringing it down. So we're going into T-stabilizers, switching sides, and you want to make sure that you're nailing that plank in between each repetition. Nice big extension up to the ceiling, bringing it back to that tall plank, and switching sides. We'll go one more time on each side. Big reach up, bringing it back to that tall plank. Switching here with a big extension. Bringing it back to that tall plank. And then sending it back into a down dog. Kind of pedaling out the feet a little bit. Getting in through the calves, hamstrings, shoulders. From here, we'll go into a spider lunge. So bringing one foot toward that hand and then turning that inside arm up and letting that hip sink down toward the floor for a side body stretch. And then switching sides. So swinging the other leg up toward the hand, turning the arm up toward the ceiling, letting that bottom hip sink down to the floor. And we'll go a few times on each side here. Take your time breathing through it. When you're starting to drop that hip to the floor, you want to give it a nice big exhale. One more on each side. Big reach, sinking the hip down. Nice and strong through the shoulder, making sure to correct that plank before sending the leg back. Last one here. And back into that plank. We're going to extend the hips up toward the ceiling for another down dog. Big push through the shoulders. Shifting to that tall plank and then dropping the knees. We're just going to go into some cat camels here. Just take your time, follow your breath, loosening up that spine a little bit. From here, we're going to swing one leg forward. So you have one knee down, one knee up. The side that's up, you're going to extend that same arm up toward the ceiling, posture super tall here. We're going to go into a windmill, kicking the hips back slightly, and then bringing that other hand down beside the foot that's in front. Correcting, swinging that back leg up, balancing, and then going into a transverse lunge. So sending it out and around, dropping that hip down, taking your time, and then coming back to stand. Going into a forward fold, bringing the other knee back, dropping down to one knee, keeping one knee up. That side that's up, you're going to raise that arm up toward the ceiling, windmill the other hand down to the floor. And then from here, you're going to bring that back leg up so you're stabilizing nice and strong, and then spin it around into a transverse lunge. Taking your time, taking a nice big step, making sure to keep those feet sort of in that railroad position, and then swinging it back to the front. Another forward fold. Bringing the other knee back, coming up tall. The side with the front knee is going to extend up to the ceiling, going into a windmill. Up nice and tall, swinging that back leg up for a balance, and then spinning it around for that transverse lunge. Taking your time, sinking into that lunge, trying to keep the feet flat. Forward fold, knee down for your windmill. Kicking the hips back slightly, reaching for the floor. Coming up nice and tall, And then bringing that back knee up for stabilizing. Spin it around for a transverse lunge. Take your time, breathe. And forward. Another forward fold. We're going one more time on each side. Bringing that front knee arm up into your windmill. Up nice and tall. Back knee swings up for a stabilizer. And then spin it around for your transverse lunge. Sinking down a little bit more each time. Bringing it to the front. We got one more time around. So forward fold, bringing the knee down. Arm raises up. Other arm reaches for the floor as you kick the hips back slightly. Coming up nice and tall, swinging that back knee forward so you're stabilizing. And then spin it around for your transverse lunge. Bringing it back to center, taking a moment here. Going into that forward fold. Dropping one knee down behind you. We're going to send the knee back a little bit further and then spin around with the other arm to grab that foot for a quad stretch. And then spinning that back leg so it's about 90 degrees. And looking for that groin stretch. So keeping the front knee over the front foot. Then you're going to spin it back around and then bring the knee in line with that front foot. Noodling through those hips. And then you're just going to spin, so kind of lift through the toes and turn into a lateral squat here. Take your time and work through the ankles. Spinning it back around so you're facing forward. Moving that leg out so it's in that railroad position, and then lifting up so the hips come up. And then you're going to come down into a nice low squat. Raising the arms, coming up tall. We're going to do that all again on the other side. So bringing one knee back behind you. You're going to drop the knee down to the floor. Grab the foot behind you for a quad stretch. Kind of driving the hip down toward the floor at the same time. And then you'll turn that back leg so it's about 90 degrees and you're looking for a groin stretch here. Keeping the front knee over that front foot. And you can straighten out that back leg and then move the knee in line so you get a little bit deeper into the hips. And now you're going to spin it around into that lateral squat. Trying to keep the heel down to start. And then you can shift onto the ball of your foot and kind of noodle around the ankle there. Keeping the pressure mostly through the hips. Spinning it back around. Moving that leg out so it's in that railroad position. And bringing it up to meet the other foot. You're in a forward fold here, and then dropping the hips in a low squat. Pushing those knees apart, sinking into the hips. Raising the arms, come up nice and tall. And another forward fold, bringing one knee back. Give your hips some space here. Kind of rocking into it a little bit, dropping that back knee, and then grabbing that back foot for a quad stretch. Spinning that back leg so that it is at about 90 degrees. And finding that groin stretch. You can straighten out that back leg, move that knee in line with the front foot, dive into the hip a little bit here, and then you're going to lighten up the load on the toes and turn into that lateral squat. And again, you're going to kind of noodle around for that ankle a little bit. spinning it back around, moving that back leg out a little wider, and then bringing that foot to the front so you're in a forward fold. Once again, you're going to drop the hips into a low squat, raising the arms, coming up nice and tall. Give yourself a little stretch, and then forward fold, bringing one knee back, sinking into the hips a little bit, and then dropping the knee and grabbing that back foot for your quad stretch. Releasing the foot and turning that back leg so you're at about 90 degrees, opening up the groin a little bit. Straighten out that back and then move that leg in line with the front, sinking into the hips here as well. And then shifting forward so that you can spin it around into that lateral squat. Keeping the spine as straight as you can, trying to really sink into that hip, and then working through the ankle. So just slightly elevating the heel and really driving through the top part of the foot. Spin it back around, kicking out that back leg so that it's in that railroad position. Bring it up to meet the other foot. You're in this forward fold, dropping it down into a low squat, bringing up the arms, coming up nice and tall. We're going to go one more time around in a nice quick flow. So sending that leg back, dropping the knee, grabbing the foot for your quad stretch, spinning that back leg so you're getting your groin stretch, bringing those legs in line with each other, and then spinning it around into a lateral squat. Turning it back to the front, sending that back leg out, bringing it forward to meet the other foot, and then dropping into that low squat. Arms coming up, come up nice and tall, big stretch here. And last time, we're going to fold, send the other leg back, drop the knee and grab that back foot. Spin the leg for a groin stretch. Straighten out the leg and bring it in line with the front. And then spin it around into that lateral squat. Bring it back to the front, bringing that back leg forward. And sitting down nice and low in that squat sit. Now we're going to do a little T-spine rotation here. So reaching one arm up toward the ceiling and kind of pushing against that other shoulder that's pointing down towards the floor. Take your time, getting some nice deep breaths, nice big reach. Both arms come up now, up nice and tall. Extend up overhead, bending to one side and the other. Nicely done.